The quiet was shattered by a resounding horn blast coming from outside, prompting Alodan to lift his head with evident concern. "Soldier!" he yelled, his voice reverberating through the near-empty halls. Without delay, a soldier swiftly appeared before him, awaiting orders. "Are they attacking?" Alodan asked. "I don't know, Your Grace," the soldier replied. "Bring General Corvus to me at once." Alodan commanded, but his voice came out weak and shaky. Alodan clenched his fist, attempting to quell the uncontrollable tremors that plagued him with each blast of the horn. He was seated on the golden throne, crown in hand. His exhaustion was evident in his sunken eyes and parched lips. The air of a man teetering on the edge enveloped him. Minutes stretched into an eternity as Alodan awaited General Corvus's arrival. With every passing second, sanity was moving an inch further from him. "Fion!" he yelled. An aged figure draped in robes hurried into view. "Yes, Your Grace?" "Are they attacking?" "I suspect they aren't, Your Grace. The horn has been blown multiple times already." A chilling gust swept into the throne room, causing Alodan to shudder involuntarily. Why is it so bitterly cold? His frustration simmered as he buried himself deeper into his regal robes. It shouldn't be this cold this time of the year. "It's your uncle's mages, Your Grace," Fion explained. "They've summoned a blizzard upon the city." "You're a mage yourself, Fion. Why can't you dispel this cold?" "I am just one mage, Your Grace. Your uncle has an army of them." Fion moved closer to the throne, joining his palms together. A radiant golden aura slowly emanated from his hands, enveloping a small radius around him and the king, instantly warming the space. "They seek to dampen your spirits and those of your men, Your Grace. Do not let them." Alodan lowered his head, his voice laden with despair. "How did it come to this?" The weight of disappointment echoed in his words. "I've shown him nothing but kindness. I defended him when everyone cautioned me about his deceit. When his plot to overthrow me was unveiled, and every voice, including yours, urged me to take his life, I chose to spare him. Your uncle has harbored ambitions for the throne ever since your father's passing, Your Grace. He's a cruel and greedy man. You've warned me about him countless times, Fion, yet even when your warnings proved true, I showed him mercy. You've been a merciful king, Your Grace, and the people love you for it. Was I truly—" His thoughts were interrupted by General Corvus's brisk entrance. He strode in without waiting for formalities, his once gleaming armor now dulled, his hand casually resting on the hilt of his sword, a serious expression on his face. "My king," he acknowledged with a respectful nod. "What is the situation outside, General?" "It's tense, Your Grace, but no major developments yet. The walls are fortified and our defenses stand ready," Corvus reported. "Why are they blowing those damn horns?" Alodan asked with frustration. "They are testing the weaknesses in our defenses with feigned assaults along the walls, Your Grace." Corvus explained, "Keeping us on edge at all times. When the actual attack is launched, they'll sound the horn twice, 2 prolonged blasts, as per the Royal Army's protocol." "When do you anticipate their attack, General?" "Hard to say, Your Grace. It could be any moment now, or they may wait for the cover of the night. One thing is certain, they don't have time for a prolonged siege. They will throw everything they have at the city very soon, before our reinforcements arrive." Alodan swallowed nervously. "Do you believe we can repel them?" Corvus hesitated briefly, his gaze shifting before locking on to Alodan's. "No," he stated firmly. Alodan's heart sank at the stark admission. "We're vastly outnumbered. 300 soldiers, bolstered by some citizen volunteers, are no match for their several thousand-strong force. They truly caught us off guard. While your armies were engaged in quelling the uprising your uncle ignited in the west, he managed to enlist the support of 2 Evanthi lords, Arelon and Damnon. Gods know what bribes he promised them, but it must have been substantial enough to hand him their armies." "They've never been truly loyal to the crown," Fion interjected. "Centuries-old grievances fester between them and your dynasty, Your Grace. A pledge to sack the city and massacre its citizens might have been enough to secure their allegiance. They sensed our vulnerability and seized the opportunity." Lord Arelon committed a heinous act within my court, resulting in the death of a servant, Alodan lamented, a weight of sorrow in his voice. He was imprisoned here in the castle, yet I released him to prevent reigniting ancient animosities with the Avanthi. As for Lord Damnon, he is believed to have murdered his older brother to inherit his father's lordship. But when the case came before me, I chose to turn a blind eye to keep the peace. You couldn't have foreseen their betrayal, Your Grace, Fionn consoled. Alodan let out a weary sigh. I extended leniency time and again, hoping for peace, but that fleeting quiet has now spiraled into devastating conflict. He gazed pensively at the crown in his hand, contemplating its weighty significance. Corvus, what course of action should we take now? He finally asked. We would have smuggled you outside the city if it was possible, Corvus said, but the city is completely surrounded. What of the messenger we've sent to negotiate? Alodan asked. He returned right before my arrival, Your Grace, Corvus revealed grimly, his body tied to the horse, head cradled in his arms, bound together with nails. It seems it's over, Alodan murmured, despair weighing heavily upon him as he buried his face in his hands. You can't surrender, Your Grace, Fionn said. Your uncle will not show you the same mercy you showed him. We will fight, Your Grace, Corvus confirmed. Our only hope lies in holding out until reinforcements arrive, though it'll be days at the least. A grim chance, but our only one. They will never get here in time, Alodan muttered despondently. The men are steadfastly behind you, Your Grace, Corvus reassured. None wish to see your uncle seize the throne. He's a cruel tyrant who will bring an era of pain and misery upon the kingdom. I should have heeded your counsel, Fionn, when I had the chance to contain him, Alodan lamented, his gaze fixed on empty space. I've brought this calamity upon the kingdom. Your Grace, Corvus interjected, I should be on the walls. The attack could happen at any moment. Yes, of course. Alodan agreed with a solemn nod. Corvus began to pivot away, then halted, his expression hesitant as he faced the king once more. Your Grace, you should accompany me. What use would I be on the walls, Corvus? I'm no warrior. I can barely distinguish one end of a spear from the other, Alodan protested. Your presence will be good for the morale of the soldiers. They're prepared to lay down their lives for you. You need to remind them why, Corvus urged. I suppose they deserve that much, Alodan conceded, rising from his throne. Lead the way. They departed the throne room, Corvus leading the way, Fionn walking in step beside the king, and the royal guard maintaining a close formation. The once vibrant city now lay eerily deserted, its snow-laden houses casting worried glances toward their passing entourage. Despite the clear sky above, an unnatural snowfall blanketed the city, an eerie spectacle orchestrated by his uncle's cadre of mages. Alodan the Merciful! A hushed whisper trailed from a citizen volunteer's lips as they neared the walls. Alodan the Merciful! Another voice, louder this time. In no time, a chorus of voices echoed through the air, swelling in volume. Alodan the Merciful! The chant rippled through the gathering soldiers and citizens alike, joining in with fervor, their eyes alight with reverence at the sight of their king. The merciful king! Their voices thundered from atop the walls. The rightful king! Alodan felt a spark of pride flare within him. Their unwavering loyalty and faith, especially in the face of imminent hardship, filled him with profound gratitude. His primary concern had always been the well-being of his people, and their fervent chants now served as a validation of his intentions for their welfare. They loved him, and he loved them. As the chants gradually quieted, a sea of expectant eyes were fixated on Alodan, hungering for his words. His gaze flickered to Corvus, who stood with keen anticipation as well. Alodan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their hopes and fears pressing upon him. My people, my dear people, he said from the heart. The unwavering trust and faith you place in me are truly heartening. I am grateful. His gaze swept across the assembled crowd, thoughts swirling as he contemplated the possible toll this imminent conflict might take. How many faces before him would survive the trials that lay ahead? Difficult times loom on our horizon, but you must be strong." His voice cracked at the sight of a kid in the crowd among the volunteers. "I never sought any of this. I never wished for any of you to put your life at risk for my sake." "The merciful king!" Corvus interjected, standing by Alodan's side and placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "This is a king who cherishes his people, unlike the tyrant outside these walls, whose only desire is to see this city in ruins. He craves power and will stop at nothing to achieve it. We know the tyranny he would impose upon us, and we must resist him, even if it means fighting with our last breath." Cheers erupted from the crowd. "Alodan the Merciful is our king!" they chanted once more as Fionn gently guided Alodan back toward the city. "Alodan the Merciful!" Their cries echoed behind them, but within the midst of this tribute, Alodan's heart carried a heavy burden. "They should not call me that," Alodan mused aloud. "Your Grace?" Fionn inquired, puzzled. "I am not merciful at all. I have condemned them all to death," Alodan lamented. "Was it merciful to plunge the kingdom into chaos? To subject it to the rule of my cruel uncle? Was showing mercy to evil truly an act of kindness?" A prolonged blast of the horn cut through the air, disrupting his thoughts. Alodan didn't flinch this time. Instead, he waited patiently for it to cease, only for it to sound again. Turning to Fionn, his eyes filled with dread, 2 long horn blasts meant only one thing. The assault had begun,